Hey everyone, Bishop Drake coming to you with my reactions from Fallout episodes 1 and 2. That's right, been to the Wasteland. Just a little bit. I know, I did it without you. Don't get me wrong, I do not have time. I mean, I could try to chunk some out to cut together and trim together some sort of reaction video as I'm watching it. I can't. I can't do that. 36 hours in a day, 8 days a week. You got it, people. I'd do it. Now, what I will do is, well, I'll invite you in for a watch along. Kind of like episode 1 for episode 3. But that's the future. Let's talk about episodes 1 and 2. As a Fallout fan, I really thought that they did an excellent job translating the game into a viewing experience. Episode 1, if you watch the watch along, I threw my 2 cents in as we were going through it. So if you want the visceral gut reaction, watch that. Again, it's not a reaction video, it's more of a watch along. It's meant to be watched with the TV show with you. Sort of the, hey, let's sit on the couch and enjoy this experience. Sitting back and having seen the episode 1 another time, there's quite a few interesting things I noticed. One, and this actually persists even through episode 2. Spoilers, people. I'm really wondering what the vault experiment was between vaults 31, 32, and 33. So quite interesting. We've always seen some pretty horrible ones. Whether it was the cloning gone wrong with all the Garys. Gary. It's kind of like somebody read a Game of Thrones and was like, Hodor. Hey, we can turn that into a vault. What if we had a clone go wrong? 2 of the classic examples of sister vaults would be the one where there was the entire vault were females except one male, and then the sister vault, which of course was all males and one female. And if you read through the computer terminals, it pretty much went the way you think it's going to go, and it didn't go well. Or the Matrix. They've even delved into the Matrix. If you're unfamiliar with Vault lore, they had a simulator, a computer simulator, that you as a character in one of the games could step into. So it will be interesting to see what other vaults they may or may not introduce. They may stick to just these primary vaults. I don't know yet. Honestly, guys, I haven't even read articles. Just to really give this sort of a genuine experience. Now, going through, I found it interesting. Lucy, was it, do you have a name? That struck me as extremely, again, so the vault experiments. I'm really interested to see where they're going to go with this and how they're going to develop that storyline, because usually it's done through computer terminals, and Lucy is out of the vault, and we're following her, Maximus, and the ghoul. So, yeah, that's wild. their attention to detail when it came to some of the things like vault suits and like boxes of things, whether it be sugar bombs or the Nuka-Cola cans, was spot on. They really did a good job sort of allowing you to see it as the game if you were going through the game. And so props to them when it came to how the background looked, the vault looked. The Wasteland looks like the Wasteland. It's a desert. Ooh, who cares? Obviously, we look at Chernobyl and we understand now that unless you have truly what you saw in the opening sequence, which is multiple nuclear bombs dropping in the same spot, Mother Nature regrows pretty quickly. But suspension of disbelief, and at least in this world, it did become pretty desolate. But yeah, in terms of the vault backgrounds, it was well done. The suits, boxes, yeah. Progressing through with the Brotherhood of Steel, the way that they were presented in that first episode, I kind of like. They were sort of religious zealots that coveted technology, and I'm still waiting to see, because there comes a point where essentially the Brotherhood of Steel is like the army/military. It's the U.S. military that survived after the war and sort of became their own thing. Some of the lore is actually explained in Fallout 76. Taggarty's Thunder is the Brotherhood of Steel unit. At any rate, essentially they adopted these Squire, Knight, Paladin, because in order to maintain more structure and adherence to people in the chaos after the bombs dropped, these terms they felt were better than officer, sergeant, lieutenant, which are arbitrary and mean only... That only means shit if you've been in the military, people. But if I say knight, paladin, cardinal, elder, you already automatically have a sense of where that person is in a pecking order. So I thought that was well done. To some degree, it's a shame that the time constraints don't allow you to see things like just some of the other Brotherhood of Steel absurdities, in terms of how they train, the way they train, the indoctrination. I'm wondering if it's lions, or these technically they said they came from the Commonwealth. So that ties into Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 takes place in the Commonwealth, and it also presumes that at least the Institute... okay, back to the show. Anyway, the ship that came in, so these Brotherhood of Steel are pretty basic in terms of adherence to we want technology, we don't really care about civilians, and we absolutely hate anything mutated. Ghoul, we haven't seen super mutants yet. I don't know if we're going to, but they're big green or blue, depending on which variety. Green or blue, monstrous. They're sort of like ogres or trolls, orcs, something along that lines in the fantasy realm. Now, so They absolutely hate those things, want to wipe them off the face of the planet, including ghouls and anything mutated and radiated. So they're doing a reasonable job with that when it came to episode 1, and putting Maximus in through what you would consider basic training, and then making him a squire proper, where he gets to get off the base and out into the wasteland. And then we have the ghoul, which is its own monster. So we'll save that for a minute. Bounce back to Lucy, who now, after the raiders have decimated the vault and has decided to go find Father. Similar to, again, a different game in Fallout 3, you had to leave the vault to find your father under different circumstances. And again, horror in the vault, and vaults either being raided and or taken over is very common in the 200 and some odd years since the bombs dropped. The Wasteland is a harsh, unforgiving place. Ay. All right, so we've got that happening. Both that and the Squire. Now you have, essentially, funny enough, this is the way games begin. It's very funny that in the first episode, it is very much a combination, especially of those two storylines. When you look at those two storylines, of what you would consider character creation, and fleshing out the home base / this is where and how you're learning to play. Even in so much that Lucy, they gave her a tranq gun. And I know some of you are like, wow, that's bullshit. Why would she have a tranq gun? Because honestly, in the games, you get a BB gun. That's it. You leave the vault with a BB gun. You are like pecking down raiders with a BB gun. And they knew that wasn't going to fly in the TV show. So they're like, how can we give her a gun but not give her a gun? Because in the very beginning, you don't have a gun. You have like a baseball bat, a butcher's knife, and yeah, a BB gun. Tranq gun, I thought, was a very good meet in the middle. It wasn't a full-on gun, but at the same time, it wasn't the damn BB gun, so it wasn't as absurd. Perfectly what would happen in game. You're going about your life, something happens, you walk by the armory, it's already been raided. Yeah, been there, done that. So, great. In terms of how those first two storylines in that first episode ended up meshing and coming together, it was a great, excellent character creation, out into the world sort of way they showed it. And I thought they did a very good job with that. The Ghoul, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. We didn't get to see a lot of him in that first episode, but what we saw of him, we loved him. We absolutely loved him. I know I did. I'm betting you did. So, excellent there. Ghouls, if you're unfamiliar, can live forever. In terms of lore, they could... It's sort of like walking around with a ticking time bomb. They can go feral anytime. We have not seen a feral ghoul yet. we'll see what happens. I'm sure they're bound to show a feral ghoul at some point. This again, with him sort of getting dug up from what appears to be a Sisyphus-like hell of being buried for a year, awakened, to be tortured for a bit, to be buried a year, to be awakened and tortured a bit, to be buried a year, to be awakened and tortured a bit, to be buried a year, to be awakened and tortured. Sisyphus, bound to hell. That is interesting because in New Vegas, you're just a courier doing a job, you get shot. Wrong place, wrong time, something like that. Wrong package. Funny enough, the villain in that was voiced by none other than Matthew Perry. So if you happen to be a Friends fan and a Fallout fan, New Vegas, and happen to be on either probably PC for sure, Xbox more than likely, there is a tribute that you can put in your Fallout New Vegas game to Matthew Perry. Right where you meet Benny, which was the character he voiced in Fallout New Vegas. Now, that being said, that's sort of the person who's already out in the wasteland, thrown into the middle of things storyline. And now, of course, that's the end of the episode. We just see that he's out there. And we know that he was from before the bomb. I thought it was a very dry, excellently funny line when the girl was, is it your thumb or mine? Yeah. Good question, kiddo. Good question. I gotta say, yeah, very good question. So I decided to wander into episode 2. Episode 2 was very different in its own little ways. It sort of adopted a bit more of what we'd call the Wild Wasteland perk, where things were a little bit wackier. And then we're starting to get into more of the setting. We get to see Lucy wandering around and finding, the random farmer out in the wasteland. I thought it was really neat. The crops that he had looked like they were from the game. It was potato plants. Holy smokes. Right there with the 3 little prongs that were... it was wild. It was wild to see those. And just some of the other background setting pieces. But typical, in between when you leave the vault and your first settlement, you usually do come across some form of random wastelander. And then it moves her into her first city. And that is, it reminded me a bit of wandering into Megaton from Fallout 3, where it was built on the inside of walls of various planes and automobiles and things. It even had the bus in the middle of the town that you could wander through. Beautifully done in terms of reminding me of what I thought a wasteland town would be. I have expectations as to what a wasteland town would be. If you've never done post-apocalyptia and you didn't know what to expect, I don't know what to tell you other than that was it to me. That when I think, post-apocalypse, people tribing together in some major settlement. That did it. I loved the crone behind the counter. She was awesome. The interaction between her and the shopkeep, perfectly in line with some of the oddities that occur in the background of some of the cities. If you're a Blade Runner fan, in the Fallout 4 main city, which is inside a baseball field, there's a robot that keeps repeating the line from the Noodle Chef in Blade Runner, the original. Pretty cool there, dealing with Wasteland trading and finding information. Move along, let's switch over to Maximus and the good old Brotherhood of Steel line. I don't know what happened. Don't get me wrong. The Brotherhood of Steel are dicks. I've never found them attractive. I mean, they have their purposes. But I thought they overdid it a bit with the Knight Titus. I love the actor. I forget his name now. I knew it then. But, it was Phoebe's boyfriend. Haha. The cop. She had a lot. Now, and also he was in True Romance. So, that being said, the put me down, I just want to, I'm bored, I want to kill some things. That wasn't very knightly. That was out of line for what a knight would do. He had a sector that he was supposed to clear. Now, I know Maximus hasn't seen a lot of action. Why he froze when the Yao Guai was behind the knight, I don't know. They're brutal in game. Just a couple hits and you're dead. Even if you do have power armor, they can shred through it pretty fast, lore-wise. So the fact that he was hurt and died, yeah, possible. Mutated bear, man. Mutated bear. One shot to the head. They should have at least gave him a double tap. Could have given him a double tap. If he's going to be enough of a fuck up that he freezes long enough that the bear has a full-on blindside attack a knight, he can at least not necessarily snap to with sharp enough reflexes to end up getting that headshot. But hey, whatever. You can do it. It is possible. I won't whine too much about it. The fact that he opted to let the knight die. Morally ambiguous. That's Fallout 2. You, in-game, you always had choices. There was a time that you could actually... There was this town. It was a town of children, and they'd collect all the children from the Wasteland. And the children could live at that town until they grew up. And when they grew up, they got to go to Big Town. That's where all the big people live. And when you stumble upon this town, it gives you the opportunity to help. because it's somebody's birthday and they're big now and they get to go to Big Town where all the big people live. And it is perfectly acceptable for you to, instead of taking that child who, trust me, when you're big, I'm not saying you're an adult, they're just big. They're big enough that they no longer are allowed in the children's town. You can take them to the slaver town and have a collar put on them and sell them to the slavers. So the fact that he chose to let the knight die, I sort of see as one of those, Fallout always had a good karma, bad karma system. And it was a bad karma choice, but it perfectly within the realms of, and this goes back to saying that as they're taking you through this TV show, they're actually taking you through a game. They are presenting you with various points, and, you know, because it's perfect. You stumble upon people in the wasteland. I'm injured. Can you give me a stim pack? And that's your choice. Don't know what to think about Maximus yet. So we'll see how his character develops. He's living for the Brotherhood, but he let his knight die. Again, I don't see his endgame being in the Brotherhood. But that's, again, within the realms of the entire story. In the very first Fallout game, which, by the way, if you've never played unmodded, it makes you want to throw things through windows. It's got a time limit before all the people in your vault die. You generally don't make the time limit. The mods all make it so that it doesn't require the time limit, and you can just play the game and still save your vault. Which, by the way, you could sell your vault out to the intelligent super mutants and watch from a video camera as they go through and do much worse than what the Raiders did in episode 1. But if you are so kind and benevolent as to save your vault, get the water purifier chip or piece, and get back to the vault and save your people, your reward in game 1 was to get exiled because the Wasteland had permanently changed you. So, the fact that he's not going to end up in the Brotherhood, that Lucy probably may not be able to get back in the vault, is all well within the realms of possibility. It would fall well within what would be routine when it comes to vault wasteland politics. So, he seemed reasonably serious in those first few minutes. Then he froze. Then he became a super sharpshooter. Then he became a dancer in power armor. Yeah. And that's when he realized he could possibly fly with his Iron Man jetpack thingies. So, back to Lucy. Now, of course, we also, in the opening sequence of episode 2, we got to learn about our targets, the guy with glasses and the dog. We got to see him, take the dog, make it a personal thing, then it got found out, and he ran away with it. And when you hear the knight say, this guy from the remnants, it's remnants of the Enclave. You know how I said the Brotherhood of Steel was like the military that survived beyond the bomb drop? Well, the Enclave are the fucking politicians that survived beyond the bomb drop. They're the ones that pulled the strings, ran the country, not necessarily the military. Again, that was more Brotherhood of Steel. But they ran the science departments and things of that nature. And so when he said remnants, we're talking Enclave. And that's a big thing, because the Enclave, even in the end of Fallout 3, was essentially the end of the Enclave. And by New Vegas, there was like one guy that you could find who admitted to being part of the Enclave. And in Fallout 4, they are non-existent. You don't get to see anything about the Enclave. So this is big, because Fallout, the TV show, is canon. It's part of the universe, which is awesome and wild, because these are all just stories within a cycle of time. So that cycle of time can encompass anything from books to games to TV shows to movies. And it can all be considered part of that world. Back to the airship, that was part of a game. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now we have that interesting meeting between him and her. An endangered breed. An endangered species, the Vault Dweller is. That's because, speaking of canon, the Fallout TV show takes place furthest away from the bomb drop. So, everything else takes place much sooner. The online game takes place, 25, 75 years, something like that. I don't know. We'll get into timelines another time. I'd want to read the material and give you correct information. That being said, we get to see him as Lucy leaves, because Wastelanders don't like Vault Dwellers. That's all right. We get it. And the ghoul makes his appearance. And now all of a sudden it becomes a Western, which is awesome. It did an awesome job of that sequence of him, Lucy wanting to do the right thing, the Enclave guy sort of knowing the gig was up. Oh, it sucked when the dog got stabbed, didn't it? Oh, it hurt you inside. We're all happy. Spoiler, we know he's stim-packed. So, but it sucked for a minute. We didn't want that. We really didn't want that. I wonder what the hell's up. We get to hear about Moldaver, that's right, but that's the big bad. We don't know anything other than they're there, and the ghoul knows her too. So why does the ghoul know her? This is more than 200 years after the bombs fell. She's not a ghoul, and the ghoul knows her, though. Or of a person named Moldaver. Is it her? Is it not her? I don't know. Episode 3, here we come. Not yet. The fight ensues, and the knight shows up to try to be the knight at just the right time. So, all's good there. Oh my God, that leg sequence. And I go, oh. Nasty. Nasty business. Nasty, nasty business. Foot in a box. And you get your first side quest. I'm not going to be able to do this. Can you deliver person A this item? Help person B go to said place. And there you have it. Your first quest and you're off. So I thought that was pretty neat. If you're the ghoul, it's, you know, you successfully, you know, fought off the person defending your target, but they escape, track them down. Look for clues. So, oh, man. Now, and we're back. So, last we saw, you got your side quests. Take person A to person over there in the Wasteland and track down your target. And Maximus is probably just find the materials needed to repair your power armor. But we'll see. We're not worried about that right now. We're worried about Plan D. That's right. Plan D, people. I thought it was great. Plan A is get in a vault. Plan B was that very nice fruit juice that you had at the family table. Plan D, cyanide pill. Quick and painless. And then he gave her the medical saw and was like, just take my head. Again, this stunk to me of just hitting quest markers and completing objectives before going and doing the next objective. And I thought it was really well done. Lucy doing her whole back and forth and the hesitation step and having to go, well, this is how I'm going to get my dad. And remembering that, you know, she's going to have to do things that she's not going to enjoy doing, or the Wasteland will change her. And that was step one. So, and it ended with my favorite song. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. Sorry. I'll try to keep my singing to a minimum. Now, that I hope that it has started a fire in your heart for the Wasteland and post-apocalyptia, people. That's what I hope. And I certainly hope you've enjoyed the TV show. From a Fallout fan's perspective, they've done a wonderful job so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they're going to do as the story expands and continues. So, watch along, people. Let's get our watch along caps on. Next time, it'll be you and me on the couch, and we will watch episode 3 all together. Until next time, keep yourselves safe out there in that wild, wild world. Take care of yourselves, one another. This has been Eric signing off. I'll see you on the next round.